Hello all YouTubers, I'm the Weather Dude. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you all for tuning back into this tropical discussion and Tropical Storm Arthur coverage for May 16th, 2020. Before I get on with today's video, however, I would ask that you please do subscribe if you are not already. It really does help support my channel. And please also, and this applies to every single one of you, please watch the whole video. You'd be surprised how much it really does help me grow my channel. So please consider subscribing and watching the whole video. Thank you. Now let's get on with today's video. Now this storm is Tropical Depression 1, and as you may or may not know, today we are going to be talking about Tropical Depression 1 that has a 100% chance to now form into tropical or subtropical storm Arthur, and how the track has shifted a lot. Could this potentially be an East Coast landfall? So we're going to be talking about that in today's video. All right, and if you have not already, after this video, I encourage every single one of you to please check out my 6th hurricane outlook right there in the top right, appearing right now. Okay, this is my latest hurricane outlook and discussion for 2020, and when you do watch it, please stay tuned for all the other ones coming on, because I will be doing several more hurricane discussions through the beginning of the hurricane season. Alright, so let's get into the coverage for today's video. Alright, so here is Tropical Depression 1. Winds currently are 35 miles an hour, so if it gets a few miles per hour stronger, we are at a tropical storm. Some thunderstorms are flaring near the coast of Florida, alright, but the main area of spin is right here. Alright, obviously it's not going to be fully, spiral, and not going to be fully organized, because it's not a hurricane. Alright, but the spin is there, but the area of convection is right on top of the area of circulation where the storm center is, which is why it's still getting a chance to get organized. Alright, and since this track is implying to go farther west, if this is true, alright, the Gulf Stream does run up here. Alright, and that is where some warmer waters are, and that can actually carry the storm up the coast. This storm can actually track right along the entire Gulf Stream, so something we're definitely going to have to watch. So here is Tropical Depression 1. Alright, winds of 30 knots, so 35 miles an hour. Pressure is 1,008 millibars, which a couple days ago was more like 1,013, so definitely has strengthened a little bit. And it is moving north-northeast at 13 miles an hour. Alright, so north-northeast would be sort of like this direction, because this is northeast, and then that's north. So north-northeast is sort of like right between north and northeast. Like northeast is between north and east, and I'm sure you guys know what I'm saying. All right, so Tropical Depression 1 there. This is advisory number 1 that was issued at 5 o'clock today. All right, let's take a look at the conditions for the storm. Can it really get its act together? All right, this isn't the ocean temperature anomalies. This is the map saying how the ocean anomalies changed over the past 7 days. They're getting a little bit cooler over the Bahamas, warming up a little bit near the eastern seaboard. But when we look at the actual SST anomalies, alright, so where the storm is now is sort of like right here. So it's incoming for some cooler waters, but a little warmer patch here. And it's going to be sort of doing a track like this. It's going to be going in and out between slightly below average ocean temperatures and slightly above average. It's going to be going back and forth between those two. Alright, but overall, as long as it stays towards the west, gets along that Gulf Stream, Gulf Stream, alright, and that could at least give it some warmer water. So here's the Gulf Stream, alright, goes right to the coast, right like that, alright, and that's pretty much how the storm is pretty much going to track. It's pretty much going to track along that Gulf Stream. Now, whether it actually breaks out the sea, whether it actually goes north and hits the mid-Atlantic coast, that we're definitely going to have to watch. But right now, it's getting its last final taste of 80-degree waters, and also the storm speed's starting to pick up. Like I said, if you watched my last video on it, where I ran the ship's diagnostic message, the storm was moving at like a few knots, maybe like 5-7 miles an hour. Now it's moving more like 13, so it is starting to pick up some speed a little bit. Obviously, it's moving along that current, so we'll see how the storm can actually move up the coast. Alright, so that's why we're going to be analyzing the latest models and predictions here. Here is the actual cone, alright, from the National Hurricane Center. Alright. So tropical storm watches have been issued for the Outer Banks of North Carolina. We're talking about Kill Devil Hills, I believe down through Morehead City. Alright, so Outer Banks, Cape Hatteras, definitely another spot that I'm sure is in those tropical storm watches. But this will become a tropical storm, possibly overnight, probably in the next couple of hours, next few hours. All right, and just because it says a black S, yes, that means tropical storm, but that can also mean subtropical. It doesn't mean it's going to be fully tropical. All right, but the National Hurricane Center does take a little bit at the sea because scenario number one. Let's go over the two scenarios. Scenario one is more of a track like this. Scenario two is more of a track like that, and National Hurricane Center kind of just goes straight down the middle. Obviously, as you get over time, the cone is going to start getting larger. All right, so it can track anywhere in this cone and even a little bit outside of that. The impacts can be felt outside the cone, whether it's a little bit of rainfall, possibly some wind gusts, some rip currents. So definitely something we're going to have to watch. But here's the key message for the National Hurricane Center. Again, Tropical Storm Watch has been issued for the North Carolina coastline. Tropical storm force winds and heavy rainfall will be possible there on Monday. If parts of the northern mid-Atlantic get it, probably more like Monday afternoon. Possibly the Northeast, but the Northeast has an even lower chance of getting it than the Mid-Atlantic does because as it gets north, the storm's going to start turning to the east. All right, so dangerous coastal surf conditions and rip currents, that's going to be everywhere from Florida all the way up to the Mid-Atlantic and possibly parts of the Northeast if the storm continues to grow over the next few days. All right, so let's take a look at those tropical storm force wind probabilities, and I'm pretty sure I'm on the latest one. Yes, I am. All right, so you can see there is even a 5 to 10% chance that we have tropical storm force winds all the way out. I mean, we're talking about inland North Carolina, parts of the Tidewater, Virginia, inland Delaware, inland New Jersey, even parts of the Northeast, almost reaching Nova Scotia there in the next 5 days. You guys do have a 5 to 10% chance of seeing winds of 39 miles an hour plus, those tropical storm force wind probabilities. However, like I said, Cape Hatteras is going to be that, that area that it's kind of like the easternmost point. Obviously, the Northeast and Nova Scotia, yes, you are the easternmost point, but in this storm's relative path, North Carolina is pretty much the easternmost point that's in the storm's path. All right, so that's why they kind of issued those tropical storm watches for you because Cape Hatteras, you guys do actually have a 40 to 50% chance, or greater than a 40-50% chance to see tropical storm force winds, all right, within the next 5 days at some point in time. All right, and even parts of the Jersey Shore, you're in that next shade of green, so possibly 10 to 20% chance. Like I said, this track can easily shift. We still got 24 to 36 hours before we start to see the storm really move up the coast or move out to sea, depending on the track. Now, this is the same map, except this time, this is the probability of 58 mile an hour winds or greater. We were just on this one, now we're on this one. Obviously, we're not going to show hurricane because there's no probability of a hurricane. All right, like I said, the greatest chance, there is a 10 to 20% chance that we see winds of over 58 miles an hour for the easternmost point of the Outer Banks. All right, but overall, we still have a 5 to 20% chance anywhere in this cone. A little bit of 20 to 30% chance of seeing 58 mile an hour winds plus offshore, but mainly about a 5 to 20% chance of seeing that occurring. All right. Let's take a look at those arrival of tropical storm force winds. Obviously, we showed you the probability, but instead, embedded within here now is the timing. So we get to look at the timing here. All right, North Carolina, your earliest reasonable arrival time of the tropical storm force winds will be when people are starting to go to bed tomorrow night, Sunday. All right, 8 p.m. will be the earliest reasonable tropical storm force wind arrival. However, if you go, so the most likely arrival of tropical storm force winds for the North Carolina coast will be Monday morning, but again, right in that overnight, Sunday overnight into Monday time frame. All right, if we go north, if the eastern seaboard, like from the Tidewater, Virginia up to Massachusetts, if you guys do see tropical storm force winds, it's going to mainly be about through the day Monday for the Mid-Atlantic and then possibly to Tuesday morning for the Northeast. So that's kind of your timing if those winds do come your way. Let's take a look at, we did just take a look at the key messages, didn't we? I'm sorry about that. All right, let's take a look at the current storm center. The storm is currently located right off of the Florida coast, and this is the 18th. I'm pretty sure this is the latest one. Yeah, this is the latest one here. All right, this might be a little bit updated to 23Z now. All right, some of the surrounding, like all these gauges here were just updated. So the low pressure system is off the coast of Florida by about 50 to 100 miles, and it's going to continue to move up the coast. All right, let's take a look at some models and some model tracks. All right, and see, models are in a very good agreement. Obviously, COTI is kind of some crazy model. I don't know what's going on there. All right, but you can definitely see all the models are pretty much in agreement up until the North Carolina coast. Once you get past that, no one knows what the heck is going on, okay? I mean, the models are just going crazy. I mean, a few models and a decent amount take it into a Virginia Tidewater or a Jersey Shore landfall. All right, I mean, some models take it out to sea, have it doing another loop again. Some models just take it out to sea completely and see you later. All right, so we're definitely going to have to watch this, but there's a good chance now that the Mid-Atlantic could see a landfall, and there actually is a very good chance that within a couple of days, within 48 hours, the North Carolina coast, the Outer Banks, could see a landfall. All right, whether it be a subtropical storm, whether it be a tropical storm. All right, because once you go up the Gulf Stream, because the Gulf Stream doesn't go right up the eastern seaboard. Okay, the Gulf Stream goes up the eastern seaboard and then it kind of breaks out to sea here. So once it gets north of that area where the Gulf Stream kind of breaks out to the east, all the cold water is going to be here. So we're going to have to see how that storm can handle it. In terms of the pressure, the GEFS tracks and minimum pressure, a lot of models do take this storm very close to the mid-Atlantic, all right? And all the models that do put the pressure between 990 and 1,000 millibars. So less than 1,000 millibars of pressure, that is a decently strong cyclone that's going to be impacting the mid-Atlantic possibly. All right, but all the models do take it, all right, pretty much right near the North Carolina coast, if not at landfall. We're talking about the Outer Banks here, with pressures between 1,000 and 1,005 millibars, which is more of your tropical storm force, tropical storm range. All right, so here are the GEPS tracks. All right, and you can see they do take up the North Carolina coastline, but they do go out to sea a little bit more with these. Although there are a couple models that take it close to the mid-Atlantic, but they pretty much all take it out to sea for the GEPS ensembles. Obviously, the last one we just showed you was GEFS, a different kind of ensemble. All right, so like I said, other than that, the dumb COTI model, I mean, which is always an outlier in this situation, right? All the models do take it into tropical storm force at some point in time. All right, some models take it about 6 to 12 hours from now. Some don't do it till 2 days from now. But either way, all right, the models do indicate that we could be in a tropical storm. I mean, in some point in time, this storm will be reaching tropical storm strength, and possibly, I mean, even top of the line tropical storm strength. But I mean, even if the winds do get to 60 miles an hour or so, the storm is going to most likely be a extratropical cyclone by then. Kind of like what happened with Superstorm Sandy. It was an over 80 mile an hour winds at landfall, but it was considered extratropical. But it did have the winds of a Category 1. This could possibly be a similar situation. And what is steering this low pressure? Well, I'm going to be talking about that very soon, so they're sticking around. All right, and part of that will be the upper level low and possibly the high pressure out here. All right, so 2 steering mechanisms, but either way, that low is going to sort of be driven up the coast. There's your storm center right there. All right, right near that Monday morning time frame, Monday at 8 a.m. actually. Kind of goes up the coast. This is the GFS model, and this is just dangerously close to the mid-Atlantic. And look at the pressure at 999 millibars, well into tropical storm force strength. All right, and then the storm goes up, and as soon as it gets to the same latitude as the Jersey Shore, it kind of just sits there and kind of dies out. And then the moisture is sort of like thrown back, actually, into the eastern seaboard. Kind of just sits there, stalls out, dies in those colder waters, and then the moisture is feeded back into the northeast. And we get another coastal low to move into the northeast, which I'll be talking about that in another video, the eastern flood threat. So do not forget to check that out as well. All right. So definitely something we're going to have to keep our eyes on. So there's the GFS model. Let's take a look at the sustained winds with the GFS model. And, I mean, just explosion right there. All right, 36 to over 40 knots of wind here. Now, obviously, this storm will be extratropical by the time that happens. All right, but it definitely will be considered tropical or subtropical before then. All right, and then there it is, 999 millibars of pressure. Definitely some strong winds on the western side of it. So even some Delaware and Jersey Shore land and even the Virginia Tidewater could get affected by this. Where we're talking about 40 to over 48 knots. So possibly 50 to 60 mile an hour winds. Certainly possible according to the GFS model. Let's take a look at those cyclonic vorticities. And again, it's just so close. All right, the storm obviously is not the biggest storm. If it had a bigger wind field, that is going to be possibly, if it does get a bigger wind field, could impact land more. But because of that big upper level load diving down, we could almost have a sort of Hurricane Sandy setup. What do I mean by that? Well, if that upper level load does sort of start to dive down, All right, we could have the jet stream, so it kind of digs like this. It can help to pull the storm inward, just like Sandy did. All right, and who knows, maybe that high pressure, all right, could help to pull the storm that way. So we're gonna have to see, because it's kind of like two children tugging like doing a tug of war. It's like, where does the storm actually go? Could it go right down the middle, east, west? We're gonna have to see. All right, we're gonna have to analyze the latest models and tracks, kind of look at the latest ensembles, and kind of see what we're talking about. Kind of see what's going on with the storm system. But GFS model does put 2 inches plus of rainfall, North Carolina coast, Virginia coast, up the immediate coast, like I'm talking about literally on the beach line for the Chesapeake, the Delaware, New Jersey, and then just missing parts of Long Island and Cape Cod, Nantucket. But that 2 inch plus rainfall is just going to be, but even a ½ inch rainfall plus just from the storm system alone, all right, we'll be reaching pretty far inland into parts of the mid-Atlantic. All right, and even Long Island could even see a ½ inch plus according to the GFS model of rainfall. Now, like I said about those steering patterns, here is your upper level low, looking pretty strong here. Could that kind of make a little bit of a trough here? All right, to kind of sort of pull the storm westbound. I think that's what the latest models have been trying to say. I don't see much of a high pressure out here. All right, I mean, there is some high pressure, but it's kind of hard to see, and it's pretty weak. So that high pressure says, oh, I give up. And the low pressure gains power, that upper level low in the Midwest there, as you can see, then that could possibly spell trouble for the Mid-Atlantic, because that could potentially mean a possible landfall. All right, so let's look at the European model now. Obviously, we switched to pivotal weather for this because European model is pretty much on pivotal weather. All right, they kind of have a more offshore track. They don't even really show a landfall or even much impact at all for the Carolina coastline. All right, so if you don't want to, I mean, they do put some rainfall, some moderate rainfall. All right, possibly a little sail going up the Virginia tidewater, but if you do not want a tropical system, European is your model to go with. All right, but there are tropical storm watches from Philadelphia Hills down through Morehead City, and then that tropical system, even if it does misland a little bit, that upper level low is going to help to spike up the wind flow from the southeast, and the northeast will just be in rainfall for days. And like I said, that will be in my next video. All right. So surface winds with the European model, not looking all that much either. All right, they do put some. We're getting some 35 knot winds, so barely tropical storm or possibly subtropical storm. Could even be like post or extra tropical by then. Same word. And then it kind of moves out. But either way, strong rip currents for the coastline. All right, so here's the cyclonic vorticities now. And again, looking like a very strong storm on the cyclonic vorticity signature. All right, so some pretty strong winds are possible. All right, and some high energy. But what I really found weird is how they put over 25 inches of rainfall. All right, for the North Carolina coast. And I didn't want to put 25 inches plus in the thumbnail because I figured this was the only model that was kind of predicting that, and I thought 25 was a bit too much. All right, but even well inland, we're talking about up through 10 inches of rainfall. All right, even Virginia, parts of North Carolina, according to the European model. But the fact that they put 25 inches of rain, I mean, that's like half of what Texas got during Hurricane Harvey. Actually, it's less than half of what Texas got. All right, but that is very weird. Because if you look at the European model, all right, if we go back to the MSLP here, yeah, they did not really show much of a, I mean, it was like a brush. It was just the storm just brushed the coast. All right, so definitely very, very weird. All right, but obviously that's over the next week. But even over the next, 4 or 5 days, still up to past 15 inches of rain. So kind of odd of the European model to sort of be like that. But we are going to have to watch the forecast. All right, so now we're going to take a look as we come towards the end here. We're going to take a look at the steering heights with the European model and also kind of look at the aircraft reconnaissance that the hurricane hunters kind of took their data from. All right, so again, that big upper level low, according to the European model, it's coming too late. That high pressure already took control of the storm. It's kicking its butt on end here, and that low is kind of diving towards the south. And even though it will still pump a moisture flow into the mid-Atlantic and northeast, the low is already gone. What's called Arthur, okay, is already off the coast. So, I mean, that's pretty much, bye-bye for you. Kind of too late. You had your chance. Here's the aircraft reconnaissance data. I mean, this is constantly being refreshed, so even though I just pulled it up, let's refresh it again. Why not? The latest data here. And it says the latest data. Alright, so aircraft, I mean, they fly at, they do fly at high altitudes to hurricane hunters, and they have found pressures of 1,008 millibars. Alright, so that seems to be the pressure amount that they're sticking with here. 20 to 30 knot winds, alright, as they've flown into that eastern side and that northeastern side of the storm. If they ever do find winds in those dark, kind of like that dark blue like you see here, they did actually find some winds of 30 to 34 knots, alright, with another thunderstorm complex developing along with the storm, and also some 30 to 34 knot winds in here as well. Alright, but remember, we need to be in that kind of like 34 to 40 knot range to have that tropical storm or subtropical storm conditions. But still, this storm is going to have time to develop. And here's a drop sound that they dropped into the storm. Again, let's just give it a little refresher just in case. Looks like we are refreshed. Alright. Looks like the relative humidity, alright, at 1,012 millibars, which is pretty much the surface here, 90%, but you go up to about 5,000 feet, relative humidity values are around 59%. Alright, and when we're talking about the shear, alright, did the winds really change with height? Obviously, 1,012 millibars is the surface. Found winds of about 14 knots, so about 18 mile an hour winds at the surface. Alright, you go up to maybe about 900 millibars, so maybe about 3,000 or 4,000 feet. They did find some winds of over 30 miles an hour, alright, but the shear isn't much. Why do I say that? Because pretty much the winds are either coming from the east or from the northeast or even from the east-northeast. So in general, the winds are coming from the same directions. Even when you go all the way up to past, 10,000 feet, all right, even passing 10,000 feet, the winds are still coming from the northeast and the eastern direction. So not much in terms of directional shear, but if the winds are changing with height a lot, that means potential some speed shear. We don't see much of that either. I mean, obviously, you go up into higher altitudes, obviously, there's pretty much going to be some higher wind values. So definitely something we're going to have to keep our eyes on. So stay tuned for more updates. Thank you guys for watching. I am The Weather Dude, signing off. Until next time. Thank you guys for watching.